he made his opinion. If he wants to continue, I'm allowed to continue. Such as you want to continue, you may. If you do not, it's fine. And Mr. Halidor, you may proceed.
Mr. President, Mr. Halidor has made his position clear. He doesn't want to hear my position at this point in time. I'll take my time at the end of the night to express my opinion.
My statement was, if you had nothing to say to me earlier, I don't think it's of any consequence to say anything now. I wish you would have joined me earlier. I would have more than welcomed your statement right now. You chose not to speak earlier. Choose not to speak now.
Mr. Halidor, continue on, please.
That's all that I was looking for. I mean,
Thank you.
simply put, Gloucester Township government should be out to protect our police department. And I think that's a matter of urgency. We don't need to wait for the county to move towards us.
The county can't do anything without us doing it. You heard my opinion on it, and I know the mayor supports our police department 110%.
I surely would like to see a resolution that prohibits them from coming in here and
Right,
taking our police.
Ray, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think we don't support keeping our police local?
Do you think
that we want to give it to the county? Do you think that?
I think there's people in higher positions that would try to make that determination on behalf of Gloucester Township. And in some instances, without getting political, it may come push to shove. That's why I think the government in our township should make the move first. They can't come after them if we have our police department protected.
Why do you think
Your feelings are great. Put it on paper.
Why do you think the city of Camden entered into that agreement?
Well,
They got a gift in return from the state, didn't they?
Well,
$61 million in aid, and also an additional millions coming from the state.
irresponsibility in government spending is what leads to all demise. And basically, their police department is hurting because of that irresponsible government, not because of the police department.
Now, the county has not approached the township about participating in it. Mr. Bianchini has stated his opinions on it. I've stated my opinions on it. My other colleagues, if they like to state their opinions, that's fine. We know what we have here, and we have a seat at the table, and we want to protect our interests. We know what we have here in the township.
I'll give you this,
asked for
Mr.
a resolution. A resolution is a non-binding resolution. If you want to put a resolution on and say, okay, we support our police department, we want to keep it here. What does that do?
What does it basically
Well,
tells?
we publicly stated here, you got us on video, Glenn talks about the police force, I've talked about the police force, other colleagues of mine on council have talked about our police force. We wanted to stay here.
I'll give you this,
Can
Mr.
I be more
Mercado.
clear?
Feelings and opinions are never wrong, but facts are facts. You put it on paper and back that up. It's better than feelings and opinions. That was just my request because I do feel they're coming, and a lot of other people feel they're coming, and we don't want to lose our police department. And whether it's binding or not, a movement by this government, by this body, tells the rest of the county that our governing body is making a move to secure our police department. That's why it can be on paper. Feelings and opinions are great. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Jim?
Jim Kilstis, Ariel. I was just listening to Mr. Polidoro, and in all the newspaper articles I've read about the consolidation countywide, it has always been stated by the freeholders that the township would have a voice at that. I do appreciate the police department don't want to lose them. However, as a taxpayer, I would like to know the complete plan for this type of countywide police force, or including fire, rescue, and stuff, so that I have all the information before a decision is made whether we put a resolution out saying, no, we're not going to do it. Let's find out what the total information is. What are they laying out, the cost, you know, what benefit we have, what do we lose. But let's get the final product before a decision is made. Thank you.
Jim, if I can just add to that, perhaps if we can reach out to Freeholder Greco, who's the liaison to public safety. He had a lot of time on his hands because he's had knee replacement surgery, so he's sitting at home. But perhaps we can have that. He has a copy of that information. We could probably forward it to you. If you like.
He has finished, they have a complete plan?
He has a product for it, so we can forward that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
We would like to be a little less emotional. I'm Walt Ellis from the Blackwood Advisory Committee, and Paul Byers and Tanya Hokie. They're on the committee also. And really what we'd like to do is just show you I don't know if some of you, I know some of you did see the calendar that we made, and we'd like you each to have one. Look at it. It's not exactly what we had hoped for, but we would like everybody to know we're doing it, or we did it for 2012. And we're really kind of asking for input too. I know some towns, the town or the township gets involved in something like that, and we're 85% happy with what we had this time, and we'd like to hear what you people have to say, and just look at it. So we'd like to give you each one.
If you give it to the clerk, she'll pass it.
Anything else we want to mention?
Along with the Camden College, we were able to produce the catalog. Again, as well stated, it was not exactly, we wanted a color and everything, but our focus was mainly to bring a calendar out to the community and show the community the wonders or the beauty of our town. And we hope to expand on this next year and make this a viable project year from year to year. Hopefully next year, if the resources are there, we'll put it in color. It'll be a nice addition to the township, and everybody will get to see day to day, really what Gloucester Township is.
Well,
This started out and ended up to be Blackwood Lake Advisory Committee. In the meantime, we would like to see maybe pictures of other areas in the township. So, like I said, we're asking for input too. And I guess, which I forgot to mention, and Paul said a little bit, the putting together of that calendar was done by a student at the college, so it didn't cost us anything, and she ended up getting credit for a course that she was doing. And then we got help from the college to print it this time. And if anybody else here would like a calendar, we got some extras, but we want a donation from you.
Well, the black and white gives a nostalgic look, so don't.
Well, you know what happened? The pictures were colored.
Okay.
And I think if we knew we were going to end up with black and white, we would have picked, some of the pictures are great. We probably would have picked some pictures that look better in black and white. But we were kind of up against the deadline. The lady needed her course, and we wanted to have them for the Pumpkin Festival. So, like I said, if anybody has any ideas that they'd like to forward, we certainly would be glad to hear them.
I would really like to thank you for, I did see a peek of it at the Pumpkin Fest. And,
Did you buy one?
No, I did not. but it was very well done. And
Yeah, we're really happy with it. But
I appreciate all the efforts. It takes
we
a lot
would,
of time to do it.
if we do it again, we'd like to get maybe pictures from more people. You know what I mean? In other words, there was a push on a deadline for the student, or she had to get her part of it done by a certain time, and we were obligated to her to produce that. So we'd like to try to do better, and
You did wonderful.
if we can get some other suggestions, we appreciate it too.
And maybe council can have some suggestions by the workshop, and then we could give them to you.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want us to come, okay. If you want to email us, call us, fine.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can I give you just a quick update
Sure.
on the caboose?
Sure.
This past weekend, Eagles Scout candidate Dale Little Jr., along with the members of Troop 77 and family, started the refurbishing of the interior of the caboose. Now, a whole community pride effort's been pushed around the restoration of the caboose on the outside. It's a focal point of part of the downtown. And over the next coming weeks, he'll be finishing that up, and that includes new interior, sidewalls, trim, and a new floor inside. And eventually, what we'd like to do is come back to council and see if we can maybe try to turn the interior of this caboose into a little museum of history of the local town in Blackwood. So we might need some input on that, your help with that. And again, the caboose being a focal point of the downtown has been great, and I'm sure I've got a lot of pride in the town, downtown Blackwood. The efforts of the Public Works Department has taken a great step in cleaning the streets, and the code enforcement has been out there with the enforcing the facade problems and whatnot. And with this grant that we had and the whole Blackwood West team. I mean, they've just been doing a fantastic job at the farmers market and everything. And I'm very, very happy, very, very proud to be able to say I'm from Blackwood. And it's really been, it's really looking nice. So I want to thank Public Works and Blackwood West team for taking care of our parks in the downtown and helping us make a better sense of pride and community in that.
Thank you very much. And when you're ready, just let the clerk know and we'll put it on as part of the workshop.
That'd be great.
Thank you very much. Mr. Schmidt?
Doug Schmidt, 1 West Thompson Avenue, Gloucester City. A few things listening to the bond questions earlier. Who is the bond counsel for the township?
Parker McKay.
Okay. Although I can hear and understand residents' concerns, what was addressed, and obviously with the news about Collingswood a few weeks ago, Salem City filing for bankruptcy, it is alarming, it is concerning, and we need to, our local governments are really in the bind, and we need to watch what's going on. At the same time, if I could ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, if it's inappropriate, 10 being the greatest need, what is the need for these police vehicles in the police department?
Chief, you want to review that?
Oh, I think, I mean, honestly, I think I can. You know, that this is a replacement plan that has been going on for years, and we're speaking about 10 vehicles that, as Mr. Carter mentioned, back in 96, 97, 70 officers, let's say. You know, we're at 110 plus 25, 30 special officers that drive vehicles as well. So just that and that alone, that I would like it to see more than 12, but we have to be realistic. So in answer to your question.
And just out of curiosity, how many current vehicles do you have in the fleet?
I couldn't give you that number.
But you could give him the information later on. Could you do that for him?
Yes.
I'm just curious about the need, and although myself, I'm fiscally responsible promoting that with our governments. When it comes to law enforcement, if there's a way to do it, if the need is great, I don't think it's no questions asked. I think it has to be done. If the chief, if our chiefs, if our deputy chiefs, whether it's the police department, fire department, say that, you know, that it's something that takes weight for public safety. If that influences your decision in voting for that, you know, appreciate that with public safety. Finally, my last thing, and I haven't gotten around to it. I've been busy with work, haven't been feeling good, some other stuff going on. Life. Regarding the executive session resolutions, I had briefly spoken to Councilman Hutchinson, who was council president pro tempore at the last meeting, regarding some concerns I had. I gave him a letter. I haven't been able to get it down to the clerk's office yet. But in the last, what I did, a general open audit for last executive session minutes and resolutions. Following the minutes, great, fine. My concern is resolutions. When you pass a resolution, got to be, you know, specific. This is why we're going into exec. And your resolution just lays out the exemptions under the Open Public Meetings Act. It doesn't say what you're specifically going in for. Say if you're going in to discuss litigation issues, so it'd be that exemption, and additionally, be more specific as possible. Say if you're discussing a settlement agreement involving a case, or you know, involving a case, you know, it's already public record, so you're not disclosing your strategy, but you know, you're within, give the public an understanding. This is exactly what we're discussing. Or if it's a personnel issue, a workman's comp within the police department, retirement within the Department of Public Works, something like that. Just wondering, would there be a way maybe to add, and I don't know.
If you remember, Josh, excuse me, John, we, when you had that question, or you asked that question, I think the last time I was involved with a closed session, I asked our solicitor that from this point forward, I want it clearly spelled out in the agenda what we're going in for, legal, whether it's legal for whatever the reasons, and I've asked our solicitor to make sure that happens, and to assist our clerk in doing that. So I expect that to happen that way.
Thank you very much, Toby. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Sam?
Just curious, I hadn't heard anything more about the...
I need your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sam Gower from Sicklerville.
Thank you.
hadn't heard anything more about the ban on pay-to-play ordinance. I didn't know if there was a status of it. Is it kind of a dead issue with council?
Yeah, there's nothing at this point.
I think I thought there was maybe some discussion, some subgroup that was meeting on it, but no, nothing.
No.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lockwood. There was a recent Courier Post article regarding the report shared services of trash disposal and collection. And I'm just curious as to why we're no longer pursuing the disposal aspect of shared services. Or there's another alternative that you're looking into, maybe?
The disposal is not an option for us because the language in the contract that was awarded to Republic Services, which does not expire until January 13th, 2013 or 14. The language is specific that the only way that we can shift and go to the incinerator, because that's what it is if Pollution Control Authority offers a lower price. That facility is now run by Foster Wheeler. That's a private company, so it's not owned and operated by the Pollution Control Authority, so therefore we can't violate our contract.
Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
Linda Mustard, Cameron Circle. At the last meeting, I had asked about the audit report of the MUA, and Tom Curtis did provide a copy of that for me. I do have some questions. When I was going through the report, I didn't see anything separated in there regarding recycling. Is that a separate audit report?
No, there's a global agreement, and that global agreement is called solid waste. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr.
There
Corley.
would be a separate audit, I believe, for the recycling and grass composting.
There is,
Right, but
but it's all called solid waste.
Yeah.
But
It's
you have,
listed in that audit.
but I think Linda's saying you have the GTMUA audit.
Right, and it doesn't break down,
There should be a separate audit.
right.
Oh, it is separated out.
It is separated.
separated.
In there?
In that document, there are two audits. One is sewage, the other is called solid waste. And solid waste is what is termed under the global agreement. The global agreement covers the collection of recyclables, the disposal of grass, collection and disposal of
Right.
grass, and the operation of the composting facility. That's all wrapped up in the global agreement. And that's what solid waste is. Recycling is within the solid waste audit.
Okay, but the recycling itself, the recycling and the composting is part of our tax base, correct?
There's a shared service agreement. The MUA bills the township for the cost of those services, and the township pays that bill monthly.
Okay, and then the other questions that I had were regarding the MUA building. How much was allocated for the building?
I don't know. That's on the sewage side. I don't know.
You can go to the MUA meeting and ask those questions if you like.
Okay, but isn't one of the council members liaison?
Me,
Okay, well,
I don't know, Linda, I don't know the exact amount, but again, you can request that information from the MUA and they'll gladly give it to you.
do you go to the meeting?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The next question that I have then is, how long does the contractor have to complete the new building?
And I would say you need to go to them to ask that question and get that answer.
Well, in the report on page 11, it says that they're going to be moving the employees in the fall of 2011. We're in the fall of 2011. Are they past the date of completion?
I do not have an answer for you. Again, I would ask that you go to MUA and ask the commissioners of that organization.
Do we have any engineering reports?
They would have that, yes.
Can we get reports on the progress?
Again, you can request that from the Gloucester Township Municipal Utility Authority. they have the same requirements that any other public agency has. To
So
provide
you
that
don't know if
information.
there were any change orders to the building, what
I
the
do not know
progress
off the top
is?
of my head, I do not.
You know, is it being inspected by in-house engineers or?
Again, you'll have to ask them that question.
Well, maybe
Huh?
Record
This-
could
this-
shine some
this
light
is
on
not
that,
his
he is a
meeting.
commissioner.
This is not his meeting, so you would have to go to them at their meeting and ask that question.
Okay, well, as a liaison, I feel that you are not doing your job then, because you
disagree
should
with
be
you.
able to provide that information to us as a liaison.
And there's a lot of information, Linda, and I don't have it all at the top of my head,
You
but
know,
I
you
will.
Answer one of the questions.
I would more than happy to have any of the MUA leadership call you if you like and
Okay.
discuss that, or better yet, you can call them directly. And you can get all that information. There's nothing there that they will not tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Joanne?
Kimber Birch. Now for some easy ones. 2 weeks ago, I was here and I was asking about the leaf collection. And I never really got to ask the question, but we're having one round of leaf collection. And mine, I'm lucky, mine is the first week. What do I do with the leaves after my leaves have been collected? The ones that still fall from the trees?
I think Mr. Moffa stated, and I'll let him confirm it for me, that there's one announced time. They will announce one time when they're coming around. After that, they will be around, but they're going to be around according to their schedule and weather and, all those issues. But they will be around probably more than one more time to make sure that they get the leaves up.
According to the quarterly, it said there'll be one round, and if you miss your round, they'll do a second unscheduled pickup. And then later it said that please allow for inclement weather, vehicle breakdowns, and etc. The last pickup date, scheduled pickup date, is December 15th, when we've got the ice and the snow. So between November 15th and December 15th, where do I put those leaves?
Same place you put them every other year. We do the same pickup every year, and actually the leaf pickup actually ran later in the old system because there were 2 rounds, and we didn't finish until January.
Right.
Now we're going to try to finish in December, but we will be around for second pickup. Just not announcing when that is because there are too many variables that slow us down that we can't predict when we're going to be there. That's all. We will definitely be there. We will definitely get the leaves as we do every year. We have never not gotten the leaves. Even if there's a snow, we'll wait until the snow melts and we come out and we'll get them. We always have and we always will.
I was just concerned, I'm in an established neighborhood. We have trees. So once they're all down, that's a lot of leaves in the curb to wait for 3 or 4 weeks. So, okay, thank you.
That's how it's always been.
Anyone else?
That would be good.
Yes, sir.
I wish everybody would do that.
Hi, my name is Teddy Liddell. I live at 3 Lowwood Court in Laurel Springs. This is actually my first time here addressing the council, so I guess.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'd like to just make a comment. I don't want to ask any questions. If you feel free to ask me questions if you want to ask my comment. But I'd like to just start off by saying about 3 weeks ago, my son and I actually went to my alma mater, which is actually at the United States Military Academy up at West Point. And we were going to an Army game, and it was one of the rare times that Army won. So I was very excited because Army won the game. But I always get chills going back to West Point. I don't know if it's just from being hazed and abused as a freshman up at West Point, or because it's just so grand and great to graduate from such an institution. But while I was there at the game about 3 weeks ago, I did happen to talk to a cadet, and I was really concerned because I graduated in 1990, so it's just been over 20 years, and I just wanted to know what changes have been made at the academy up at West Point. And so I asked the cadet, I said, when I was here, the cadets had an honor code, and so I'm going to ask you, has the honor code changed? And he said, no, sir, the honor code hasn't changed. And I said, well, do you mind repeating the honor code to me? And then so he says, well, a cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. So my son heard that, and on the drive home, he and I got into a discussion about that honor code. And the one thing that I really wanted to impress upon him, having gone through living underneath that honor code for 4 years over at West Point, was to say this, is that it's not just important to do the right thing, but it's also important to ensure that the right thing is done. And those are really two different things. And actually it was quite a struggle to explain that to him. But the point I'm trying to make is that at West Point, what the mission is trying to produce officers to graduate from the academy so that one day, if you're asked, you'll have to go into battle, and guess what? You're going to be leading young sons and daughters into war. And what the taxpayers have told the superintendent up at the academy, as well as the Secretary of the Army, was we want officers who are trustworthy, not just trustworthy enough to do the right thing for themselves, but to ensure that if there's any potential of a wrongdoing, that they are responsible to act on it. And I learned that lesson very, very well up at West Point. Very successful afterwards. But I think that's what taxpayers are asking us here tonight, especially when you consider the pay-to-play ban, the proposal. I've been here for the past 3 to 4 months listening to the long discussion about this between yourselves and other citizens within our community. And I believe the discussion started somewhere late spring or early summer, but for the past 3 or 4 months, a lot has been said going back and forth. But I think just like the taxpayers, and I guess the truth is all of us have paid for my education up at West Point, but just like the taxpayers who pay for all of the cadets to graduate through West Point after 4 years, and they expect for them to learn so many skills, but they saw it important enough to instill within them this idea of being trustworthy, not just for themselves, but also for the community at large. If there's ever a wrongdoing, to show some responsibility and actually act on it. I think taxpayers also here locally expect the same thing. And I want you to hear me well, because in no way, and with all due respect, I'm not saying that any wrongdoing has been done in the past, because I don't know that. And I'm not saying that anyone intends on doing any wrong vis-a-vis taxes and contracts and pay-to-play. But what I am saying is that this is a potential where wrongdoing can be done. And having said that, I think that we all have a responsibility to act on it. And just like when taxpayers send their sons and daughters to go to war, and some of them don't come back, and it's the very officers who led them who have to come back and knock on the doors and tell the parents what happened. I think if you take that scenario and apply it here, I think taxpayers want our leaders to just be trustworthy about how we use our tax dollars. So all I'm saying is, I know there was a question asked by Sam earlier about what the status is of our pay-to-play. I think what I'm saying is sometimes it might be hard to make that harder choice. But I think a lot of times it could be easier to make it easier or wrong. And here, I think in this case, the harder choice is to make a stand either one way or the other, and then maybe choose a workable pay-to-play ban. But the easier choice is to consider every single question and every single detail or problem that could occur with a pay-to-play ban and still do nothing. I think those are the two choices that we're struggling with, and I believe that just like the taxpayers who pay for cadets to go to West Point and the Naval Academy and the Air Force Academy, go Army, be Navy. I believe that, the taxpayers here also are asking the same thing, which is whenever there is a potential to do any wrong, we have a responsibility to act. And the acting is to just taking a stand and coming up with a workable plan. And then making that plan known to the community. So that's my statement. Again, I don't mean any ill intent. I just wanted to express how I felt about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Schmidt?
John Schmidt, Wilmington Township, Avenue, Gloucester City. I would be uncharacter of me if I didn't come up and follow up with something Linda Musser had asked you, pointed out that you were the liaison for the MUA. Do you regularly attend the MUA meetings?
Yes, I do.
Every month?
Yes, I do.
Now, you're also liaison for the Housing Authority?
Yes, I do.
Do you regularly attend those meetings as well?
For the most part, yes.
I attended 3, I didn't see you at any of them. So I just wanted to ask, what's your attendance record at the MUA? Would you average half the meetings a year, all the meetings? Do you have a...
No, I'm there probably 90% of the meetings.
Thank you.
Mr. Crum?
Good evening, Council. Tom Crone, beautiful Gloucester Township. You know what? I want to keep it light. It's been a really kind of a smack 'em around kind of night tonight once again, which I actually do like from time to time, but we're going to keep it a little lighter than usual. Notice things going on in the past 4 weeks. The occupants have now moved into Wall Street in Philadelphia. That's not my term for them. They call themselves occupants. The Occupy Wall Street movement has grown up, and it's very interesting to watch. Seeing it happen. And I saw one the other day. I found it to be very interesting. They're occupying Doylestown in Pennsylvania, which is a fairly affluent area of the country. I'm curious, and I look at these things. I go, well, are going to be the soccer moms coming in their Lexus SUV with a Starbucks in their hand? What are they going to say? Are they going to be late to there because they're Pilates and they have to pick up the kids, etc.? What would happen? What would happen should the occupiers, or the occupants as they call themselves, show up here in Gloucester Township? I think that would be an interesting phenomenon. As I've spent the past 2 years being part of the Tea Party movement and seeing how that works and how we as citizens have decided we want a more compliant government, a smaller, more responsible government, I see the movement within the occupiers as they want no government. They're looking for anarchy. They're looking for socialism. And you wonder, is that the answer? Is that the answer, that we abolish government? We do away with this give and take that the public has? with each and every one of you. Your servants, your public servants. And we are the public. And from time to time, it's required of the public to remind each of you of your position. And a lot of things have been said tonight. It seems as though everybody's in a little bit of a chippy mood this evening and wants to have their say. But I'll go back to it. What would happen should we occupy Gloucester Township? You look at the things that even the occupants are arguing. Business commingling with government and leaving the citizen out in the cold. It's an interesting point of view. Solyndra comes to mind, seeing how that happened on the federal level. That's federal pay to play. And I had no intention of coming up and talking about that or getting into that type of thing. And I'll leave you with this. What would happen should the occupants decide to come to Gloucester Township? Think about that. Have a great night.
Anyone else?
Should I say my name again? Darren Gladden, 44 Greens Way. For what Tom said, I'm going to give him an answer truthfully. If the occupants come here and they bring in socialists, we fought a war in 1941 it started, and we fought socialists. And a couple grandfathers, a couple people I know actually fought in that war that I've, got their intelligence from and their knowledge. And it was a really bad war. So if they came here and brought socialists here, I'll be the first one to confront them. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Anyone else? Please close the second public portion. Polling of directors and council, please.
Mr. Mazza?
Nothing to report at this time.
Mr. Lechner?
Nothing to add. Fine, thanks.
Mr. Earl?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mr. Parliament?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Parks?
Nothing to report.
Dan Hutchison? Mr. Hutchison?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Gorbaski?
Thank you all for coming out. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt?
Thank you for coming out. Thank you for all your comments.
Ms. Genta?
I'd just like to thank everyone who participated in the Mayor's Wellness campaign. The flag football game went really well, and it's just nice to see that the community getting involved and having fun. Thank you.
Mr. Mercado?
Thank you for coming out this evening. Thank you to the Blackwood Lake Advisory Committee for bringing this beautiful calendar here. Again, black and white, I think it's nostalgic and it's fine. I also want to thank the fire companies in our township, Choose Fire Company, and also Aerial Lamps Terrace held their fire open houses this past weekend. I would imagine you had 2,000 people, Jim, down at Lowe's on Monday, and about over 1,000 over at the Choose Firehouse. And yesterday, Glendora celebrated their open house. Fantastic job. But I also had a conversation with, is it Captain Breeze?
Yes.
Captain Breeze, who came before council last year with Mr. Kibblestis and also Mr. Brown, fire commissioners, and talked about changes and ways that they can keep their companies afloat, and changes that they made on certain fees that they enacted. And I had a conversation with them and told them how was it working out. Their company has benefited from it. Both of those companies have benefited. All 6 companies have benefited from those changes that they made. And I just want to commend you, Mr. Kibblestis and Mr. Brown, for bringing those to our attention, and council for acting upon those changes. That's helping you keep your company afloat and keeping the cost to our taxpayers down to a minimum. Thank you very much.
I can comment.
Yes, go ahead.
Those fees were from 1991.
Oh, absolutely. So, thank you and have a good evening, everyone.
Mr. Banking?
like to thank all the residents for attending tonight's meeting. Thank you again to the Blackwood Lake Advisory Committee for a beautiful calendar. Also, I too want to thank all the fire departments for the fire prevention week and the activities. And Blenheim is not having a fire prevention week, but they are taking a different approach. They're going to each and every house, and they're going to make sure they have a working fire smoke detector, and if they do, make sure the batteries are changed. And I thought that was also a unique way of Fire Prevention Week, so I congratulate them also. With that, I ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All those, good night.
No, it's my turn. I have a question. I had a tree that went down over the shore, and I had like tons of bundles. How many can I put out?
But the guys usually will work on a pile for about 10 to 15 minutes.
I didn't put all of them in that time. So we tried to farm them as best as possible, but then when I got tired by the end, so I tried to put that one out.
No, you still can back if you want.